This week, we're turning the PS Vita into the ultimate retro gaming handheld. We'll be installing RetroArch, setting it up to run your ROMs, and mapping hotkeys so you can save, quit, and tweak your settings without touching too many of the menus. If you've already jailbroke your Vita from the last video, you're ready for this. If not, check out that jailbreak guide first. It'll be up here and also linked below in the comments. RetroArch is an all-in-one emulator front-end that handles everything from NES and SNES to Game Boy Advance, Genesis, Game Boy, PS1, yeah, you name it. Once it's configured right, it makes the Vita feel like a portable museum of gaming history. First thing we're going to do is head over to the official RetroArch site and download 2 files. All these links will be down in the description. Anything you see here will be there. If you get stuck or can't find anything, let me know in the comments. Under download, if you keep scrolling down, you'll see all the supported platforms. And we're going to go down to Vita, PS Vita. And we're going to download 2 things. We're going to do download and we're going to download data. Once we have our files, we've got the RetroArch VPK, which is actually the RetroArch program that's going to run on the Vita, and then the data file, which is 7-zip. So we're going to extract all of it here. We'll get back to these in just a sec. Now we're going to connect our Vita to our PC using Vita Shell. When you're inside Vita Shell, you just want to make sure that when you hit start, that your settings are set like this. You want SD to Vita and USB set to select button. We'll hit the select button, and that'll give us basically all of our file structure here set to the PC. Now I'm going to transfer the RetroArch VPK . Once the VPK is installed, we need to run RetroArch one time so this sets up our directory structure that we're going to use for the other files that we downloaded from the website. So we're going to close out of Vita Shell for now. We'll go into RetroArch and start it up. This is going to build our directory structure and everything that we need to get started. Once we've come in, we're going to exit back out of it. And we're going to go back into Vita Shell. Now you can copy these files over and use Vita Shell internally to move things around, but I personally like to do everything from the computer. Hit our select button to reconnect. And over on the PC, you'll see now in this data drive, we have a RetroArch folder. And if you look at the files that we downloaded earlier from the RetroArch website, we also have a RetroArch folder. These things right here are the things that we're going to drag and drop into here and overwrite. Now with that copied over, we cancel out of our USB connection. We can close Vita Shell and open up RetroArch again. And this time you're going to see something a little different. You'll notice the font has changed, and you can kind of tell that it's more set up for the Vita. Let's exit out of RetroArch and let's go back into Vita Shell. Start our USB connection. Then we can go into data, RetroArch, system. This is the folder where you're going to want to put your BIOS files. I have a list of BIOS files here. These are just BIOS files that I have captured from my own things. And like I said, you figure out where to get those on your own. Once the BIOS files are set, we also need to create a ROMs directory. I like to do that on the main directory space because we're going to have to map to this inside of RetroArch on the Vita, and it just makes life a little bit easier. So I'm going to get rid of the RetroArch VPK because we don't need that anymore. We have it already installed, and I'm going to create a new folder called ROMs. Installing the ROMs is pretty easy. Back in the Vita shell, connect our USB, and we see the ROMs folder that we've created here. And I have my ROMs on my desktop. I'm just going to copy these in. This is a small sample for time purposes, but there are several different systems that that RetroArch can emulate and copy. So each one I put into a separate folder. I like to keep my ROMs sort of organized that way. So I have Game Boy, and they can be the compressed zip files, or they can be the open uncompressed versions of the files. So I've just selected a game from a couple different systems, all games that I own that I can legally have digital backups of. A couple things that we can do to sort of, in my opinion, increase sort of the look, give the appearance a little cleaner look and help you see a little bit better through some of the menu settings and stuff like that. This is all up to you, but these are the settings I used. You can totally go nuts. We go into settings, circle button to enter, and then X takes you back. So settings, user interface, the menu, down here at the bottom. I like the XMB menu. It'll look very PlayStation-ish. Restart RetroArch. And now this looks very, very Vita. Feels good, right? Now we can go back into settings. So it's basically all the same options, just set up in a way that feels a little more friendly for a Vita. But let's go back into settings, user interface, and appearance. So the scale factor, I like 1.1. Again, this is all the preference. Your icon theme is monochrome. I like a little different one. So this flat UI looks a little blocky. Flat UX is the one that I like to use. This one here kind of gives it a little pop. I am going to change the color though. I kind of want it to, take it a little darker. So I think go dark purple, or maybe even a gray black type thing. Let's go with a gray dark. There you go. Now it kind of pops. I increased my scale factor just so I can make sure you guys can see clearly what's going on here. Again, set that to whatever you like, whatever you prefer. Now we need to add the ROMs to basically the system, let it know where it is. So if we go down here, we can say import content and scan directory. And we're going to go to UX0, which is where we have loaded our SD to Vita and ROMs. All right, once everything is installed, let's see if it worked properly. We can get out of here and we can go across the top, and it does look like it. So Now, in our main menu, we have all of our icons for our different systems. So here we have TurboGrafx, Game Boy, looks like Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Gear, and Genesis. When you go into each one for the first time, it's going to ask you which core that you want to use. There's several cores that can do different things, and you can go into a way deep dive on how different cores are really good at different things for different games as far as timings and things like that go. When it comes to Nintendo, the example I'm going to show you here, this FCEUMM is it's really awesome. It's the one I usually use. Everything's already mapped. Yep, gonna map to the D-pad as it should. Just like that. To get out of a game, you hold down LR and hit start and select. And then that'll bring you up your menu, and you can just say close content. You can also do save states and all kinds of things like that from here. But for our purposes, we're just going to close the content. Another thing that is totally optional, but I find very convenient, is setting up different hotkeys. LR start select is always going to take you into the RetroArch menu. But you can also assign hotkeys to do certain things like quickly save the game, quickly exit the game without going into the menu and then selecting save or selecting exit. It just takes away, makes it a one button operation as opposed to having to dig deep into menus. Under settings, you go into input and hotkeys. What we want to do is assign a hotkey. This is going to be the button that tells the system that I'm about to give you kind of like a master command to shut down to do certain things. For me, the hotkey I like to use is select. So what I'll do is I'll hit circle and press select. It tells you, hey, just letting you know, if this is going to be bound with other things, it could cause you problems, blah, blah, blah. For me, it works well. If you try it and you don't like it, you're like, this was dumb, I wish I wouldn't have done this. To get rid of it, all you have to do is hit circle and press start, and that clears out the hotkey that you've assigned. And that goes for any of the things we're about to change. If you find you've done something and you don't like it, you find yourself accidentally pushing it or whatever, you can always just come in here and select it and press start, and that clears it out. So I'm going to assign select as my hotkey. And then I'm going to come down here to close content. So now what we're going to do is enter what you're going to press along with that hotkey to perform this function. So for close content, I want to hold select and press start. So I'm going to press start here, and that's going to give me close content option. The other one that I use a lot of is save states. To load, to save, I'll do select and R, and to load, I'll do select and L. L for load. It's just the way I remember it.
L for love. Good times.
So to save, we're going to do R, and then to load, we're going to do L. And those are the three that I set up. You can see there's tons of things in here that you can do. Volume, you can do your next save state, things like that. I find outside of those things, I'll usually find myself going into the menu because I want to make some different changes anyway. All right, we'll go back out of there. I'm going to go down to my configuration, and I'm going to save it. And go back. And let's go over to our game and we'll show you. we'll show you some of the things that we've just done. Save states are great because if you get to that point in the game where you're stuck or you got to quit playing or whatever, you can always just save it and come back to it later. And save states are instant. All right, so here I am in the game. I've gotten to a tough part of the level. I'm about to have to fight a boss. I will start, which pauses the game, and then I will hit select and R, which creates a save state. And you should see a pop-up down here that says a save state was created. There you go. So save state created. All right. And now when I come out of here and I'm a dummy and I end up dying, I'm like, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. That was so dumb. All I got to do is hold select and L, and it puts me right back to where I was when I created that save state. Try to hit pause when you create save states. Don't create a save state right before you die, because it's going to bring you back and you're going to die right away. It's no good. So don't do that. Then the other one that we set up was the close content, and that is simply just select and start. And now that'll take us straight back out without having to go through all those menu choices. At this point, we're set up and we want to basically start to configure the video and I guess get it set up the way we want to see it. You know, make sure that the screen's looking right and everything's going right. And a lot of this is going to be the taste. I'm going to show you some of the options I select, but they're totally up to you whether you'd like to turn them on or not. There are several more options under here that you can search for. You can really dive into a rabbit hole on all the things that you can do in this. It's a very powerful front end. The first thing we're going to look at is filters. Filters are things that you can apply to the video to sort of change the output. You can make it larger, smaller, sharper. You can add scan lines, all kinds of cool things. Unfortunately, we need to go into the settings in our main menu. The directory isn't really set up properly, so we're going to go down to directory, under settings, close to the bottom, directory. We're going to go down to where it says filters, video filters. So it says default. Default's no good for us, so we need to enter into it. It is in UX0 data, RetroArch, and filters, and we're going to say use this directory. Now that directory structure is set, I will show you what I generally use for most games. If I get into a game and something looks off, you can always change it per game or per core. But under settings, video settings, first we'll start with scaling. I don't turn on integer scale. Integer scale will not allow you to sort of cheat the way we're going to as far as expanding the screen and things like that. We're going to try to sharpen each pixel, and we want to do that independently of a fixed, integer. So I want that off, and I want bilinear filtering on, and I want overscan. I want to crop the overscan too. So any part of the outside of the screen area that doesn't really matter. Things that back when they were coding the games, they left a little bit of that region there because the CRTs would actually cut it off for you. So I'm going to have this do the same thing. We're going to have to restart to apply that, but that's okay. We'll do that in just a second. Now, down under video filters, because we've mapped that video filter directory, we can go down here and just select the one that we like. All of these have a different effect. I totally encourage you to go in here and play with them, because there's some really neat effects and some really neat things that have been made for specific consoles, for general purposes, all kinds of things. But the one I stick to most of the time is this normal 2x filter. It basically cleans everything up without making anything look too distorted or too crazy. So once we've applied that video filter, I'm going to go back, and again, I'm going to go down into configuration file, and I'm going to save the current configuration. Now I'm going to quit RetroArch and start it back up again. I think it's going to be a little tough for you to see improvements on camera. I guess we'll see. If you do see these improvements, you're like, wow, that was the greatest thing I've ever seen, let me know in the comments. But if we go back into Aero Blasters, for instance, with the visual settings that we've just applied, It should look nice and clean. I like good, clean, crisp, sharp pixels. I like to keep the ratio. And yeah, right there, that is actually looking really good. So from my eye, things do look a lot sharper, a lot cleaner. And that's RetroArch up and running on the PS Vita, ready to play all your favorite retro classics from across multiple generations. But this is really just the beginning. RetroArch has a ton of options beyond what we covered here, from adding new systems and overlays to full theme packs that completely change the look of the interface. You can even set up custom bubbles for one-tap game launches on the Vita menu layout. I wanted to give you just a solid foundation, the basics to get you up and running, but from here there's a lot more that you can tweak and customize. If you hit a snag or have questions while setting up your own system, drop them down in the comments and I'll help you out. And of course, do all the YouTube things. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up and share it with anyone you know that wants to mod their PS Vita. If you missed the jailbreak video that this builds on, it's linked below. That's step one before any of this. Otherwise, have fun exploring, experiment with different cores and themes, and I'll see you in the next one.